tell who it is that we be. It's the ALMOROC, stepping up in the place, ambassadorially. 2 on the right, in the middle is me. Got 5 on the left, to the ground is 3. Those who have the eyes can clearly see that what? It's the Moors for sure, and you can't touch the shores unless you down. Do a treaty with us, and we entreat that you trust and respect our boundaries and our legacy. Can get the best of me with the strongest mental telepathy. Phone book, fiat, fantasy, or recipes. Wisdom and supreme mathematics is protecting me. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. That's on my chest, about to take flight. Signal of distress, something don't seem right. I'm trying to find a phone booth, but none in sight. Trying to get the whole truth, but it's a fight. True, Ali told you, but still despite. Renew the old you, you'll be alright. You'll be alright. You'll be alright. I get knowledge I got. My mind spray a lot for my alma rock. Lyrics cryptic, I'm Moroccan mystic. Use rhymes at times, enlighten a dimwit. When I'm Moroccan's flow, you trying to swim with. Hang rappers by laces, they tie their Timbs with. This ain't that foodie rap, we catch him in booby traps, coughing up a lung cause my fam got hung. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. That's on my chest, about to take flight. Signal of distress, something don't seem right. I'm trying to find a phone booth, but none in sight. Trying to get the whole truth, but it's a fight. True, Ali told you, but still despite. Renew the old you, you'll be alright. You'll be alright. You'll be alright. We are the ancient, returned on mics and beats, on ancestral realms and streets. Words sound power, shower, watering minds with jade lines and amethyst rhymes. Tiger eyes glow, scimitar showing crystal reflections for added protections. 5 on the left, 2 on the right, lyrical bread and fish fed through the mic. I tip your scales with vibrational levels. With this man, sever your tempo. Moving, living backwards, stabbing at pebbles. People trying to survive, call us criminals. Why did my first die surrounded by devils? Wanna try and infiltrate inside my mentals, but ministry of propaganda and these scandals. Beat up broken rascal, camouflage charcoal. Heavy rotisserie, heavy arsenal. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. That's on my chest, about to take flight. Signal of distress, something don't seem right. I'm trying to find a phone booth, but none in sight. Trying to get the whole truth, but it's a fight. True, Ali told you, but still despite. Renew the old you, you'll be alright. You'll be alright. You'll be alright.
Check it. Knew from the first that I met her. Thirsty in the worst way, wanted to get her. Open like a letter, I'm open, not the stress and no pressure, but I don't wanna let. Knew she couldn't handle 16, so I hit her with 8 first to give her a taste first. Cat and mouse game, yeah, she gave up the chase first. So I booked the room and I laid her down face first. She liked the kinky, so I spit on her. Wanted to keep it to myself, she wanted other dudes to get on her. I tried my best to put a hit on her, but she fell in love with crack rap. All they do is shit on her. Thought I knew her well, so but wait a second. Knew her well before she ever even made a record. She's a thot now, so I gotta pay to check it. But I'm still digging mommy like a crate of records.
5 on the left, 2 on the right. That's on my chest, about to take flight. Signal of distress, right. I'm trying to find a phone booth, but none in sight. But it's a fight. True, Ali told you, but still despite. Renew the old you, you'll be alright. You'll be alright. You'll be alright.
Islam Moors. Welcome once again, Canaanland Moors class. Every Tuesday, we did a Ustream on the weekend. Pretty much got cut about an hour 30, hour 40 or something like that in. So, you know, figure we switch it up. Islam to the Moors worldwide. Islam to the Muftis. Make sure you just control the chat. You know, these clowns like to do their stuff. So Muftis got full jurisdiction on the chat. Do whatever you got to do. Take heads, whatever. Ride the marrows, steal. Whatever you got to do with those Moors. Want to play around in the chat, do your thing. Figure because we're doing the Ustream, little broader audience, that we deal with some black stuff, since people might be on here that might consider themselves black, they want to think whatever they want to think about Moors, nothing to do with them or whatever. So, with the grace of the Most High, we'll get the message to some people today who want to know something. And for the haters, once again, Muftis are in the chat. For all the trolls, they'll be dealing with you. So you're on your own with them. I want to start off today just with, of course, some readings by the Prophet Noble Jew Ali, who, as Moors, we know that, he was an adept, well-rounded, scholar or scholastic type brother. And when we check out what he presented to the so-called Negro black color people, we realize that, he brought the missing key. As far as the people who are on the inside that study what Noble Jew Ali brought, we know that he brought the missing key for our salvation, which is our nationality. Because we know, as far as conscious Moors who study, active Moors, we know that we're not Negro black colored, no matter what anybody says. We're not playing, we're black, we're Negro, we're African, and all the other stuff. We know that we're Moors. And the point, the message is to let all our people know that they're Moors. You could still go to church and be a Moor. Noble Jew Ali said, when a Moor goes into a church, it becomes a temple. So you can call it church all you want, Moor, but you're going into a temple every Sunday that loves, Jesus and, blood of Christ and flesh of blood and stuff like that. You can get your cannibal on as Moor, you know what I mean? Right? Buddhists, NOI knows. They had cards to identify them back in the day. You know what I mean? They got documented facts that they had nationality cards. Nation of Islam. That's why they had fezzes, because they were Moors. But, nobody's not hearing what we're saying, even though we show the documented proof and all that. So it is what it is. So this man came and he presented to all Asiatics of the world. All Asiatics of the world, he came to present his program to, of uplifting fallen humanity, where the principle or the pinnacle principle is love for humanity. Because, if you're going to have relations with anybody and it's not based in love, then what's the sense having these relations with these people? Would anybody who is, expressing love want to have relations with people who don't like love? If you call yourself something that you're not, clearly you don't have love for yourself. If you're as something that can be identified as, clearly you don't love yourself. So why should people love you? Why should people care what happens to you? So Noble Jew Ali had a few writings, none really more profound than any. But as a nation of people in the 1920s, the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, Moorish Divine and National Movement had a newspaper. And the newspaper went all across the country. And in this newspaper were articles written by Moors, some articles written by Noble Jew Ali, spreading this message to the so-called Negro black colored people about the truth about their nationality and birthrights. The message in this article is about the savior of humanity, which, you know, Noble Drew Ali is that individual, and how he came to save humanity is by letting humanity know that the order of the day is nationality. That the only way that you're going to be recognized to the mindset of your ancient foremothers and forefathers seems expansive. But if we look at it simply, if you go back to of your ancient foremothers and forefathers, you wouldn't call yourself black. You wouldn't call yourself Negro or African. You wouldn't call yourself celestial beings from some other planet or whatever like that. You would call yourself by whatever nation you claim to be part of, considering we're on Earth. We're not in the space somewhere. We're on Earth. On the Earth plane, humans dwell. And if you're HUE, human, nation. There's where you can go that would prove to you that there is a thing called nations and nationalities, and that is respected all throughout the world. And the only people who are absent of respect are the people who choose to not identify with their true self. They identify with the fiction of themselves. So the savior of humanity. In this electrified age, men are racing into this life without complete knowledge of where they are going or what the end will be. When riches seem to be their only pursuit to be obtained anyway and at any cost. When selfishness, avarice, greed, and lust dominate their very being. When humanity in general is left at the mercy of those who have no mercy in them. Wonderful and astounding to see one come into this mad human drama for the sole purpose of saving humanity, losing all sight on those things worldly, absolutely to a cause higher than has ever been attained. The likeness of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, who is serving humanity, coming as he does with a message for the nations in somewhat the same manner as did Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, and other prophets of their day. Things of this prophet's day differ from the ills of the days of the past, and yet the remedy for the ills of today is about the same as the remedies for the days past, all turning about the pivot love for humanity. Humanity must be lifted from the unwholesome depths of poverty, misery, and suffering, and placed on the solid rock of salvation. There are some who claim to do this, but upon investigation, one finds that they have slouched under the wings of their cross to extract from those who come to them means by which they can have the pleasures of this life, followers to the joy after death. While they feed their sheep, they also share them while eating. Their day, the master will be heard to tell them, "You have your reward. Get thee hence." Rare is it that you find a real prophet whose mission is the salvation of the nations. The land is full of false prophets whose mission is to fleece the people. The land is full of false prophets. Fleece the people. Straight point blank. Mad people out here claim that they're scholars. They're adjectives. Out here claim that they're doctors of some whatever. And they're telling people that they're adjective, that's their identity. And proud, they're adjective and they're proud. Have their fists up and all that. claiming to be an adjective. It's out here. Many false prophets out here. Right? Was and now into the land a prophet in the likeness of his brothers to redeem them from sin and slavery. This prophet is the man, bringing with him the message of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, can save the nations. Like the coming of Jesus, he does not come from the elect nor the rich, worldly power, but all power is given unto him. This power is from Allah. It will be his works that will make men of every nation accept the truth that he brings. His teachings that the nations of earth will understand the will of the Master. It will be through him that peace on earth and goodwill to all men shall come. His work that humanity will be brought from the slime of life and placed of salvation. Now, if an individual comes with that as a message, you know, you're walking on the street, guy gives you a flyer that says that. If you're a logical thinking individual, you'll want to find out some more information with regard to this. Because, you know, one, things in here that make supreme sense, thing to question, because our own personal morality, life is in harmony with majority of the things that he said in here. But then there's some things that might be questionable. I'm gonna really, you know, talk to this individual or individuals who study from him or whatever to find out what's what. Teachings that the nations of the earth will understand the will of the Master. Black colored people have been going around calling somebody the Master for 400 years that they're not even volunteer master of something. They want our people to think that the individual who supposedly came out of the cave gave the Moors the fez, and who said a word means something. Now, you know, he can't come out of the cave and civilize humanity. Us over here on a slave ship at the same time be fighting Barbary pirates. How's the boat leaving if you guys can't even get past the damn pirates without paying a ransom? And the pirates' ships that picked up whoever was in the jurisdiction of the Moors during the 16th, 17th, that they say is the slave time or whatever, right? They were getting kidnapped and somebody else was paying their ransom. In fact, these same people who supposedly, you know, were the master, brought us over here, they would have to pay conversation with the captors. Forget the ransom. They have to pay the Moors first a fee, have a conversation. We're going to talk about ransom, and then they're going to pay that. But they're going to say that some people are master. No different than people say, but they're paying for a process. But they're paying to authenticate a birth certificate. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're sovereign. The colonists to do a process for you to be free. Number. You fill out some paper to get some 9-digit number, so now you can work, or now you can do something because the system's falling. So we're going to go to the falling system and we're going to get a number from them, And then we're going to be on the private side because we got a number from them. Stupid. Electrifying age into this life. Knowledge of where they're going. Electrifying age. Remember, this was not electrifying age. It was not the electrifying age. Like 2000 age. Sex with glasses. Men are racing into this life. Complete knowledge of where they're going. Or you definitely don't know where you're going. This is why we hurt them. They might, you're not black. I told you. I don't care how much degrees they said that they got. It'll tell you black is an adjective and not an adjective. You know that you're not a thing. Adjective. Now, mind you, subscribe to yourself to be a thing. Then they already have a plan for you. It's called Christian Black Codes. Go read those. King Alfred Plan, 11490. It's called Negro Acts. And then of the question, Negro Act, this says, but in it, it's talking about how they're going to deal with slaves. Your conditions under these labels that you claim is your identity. And I guarantee you, if you have a thinking bone in your body, and that it's not in your best interest to classify yourself as something that you're not. All under Christian Black Codes. It is point blank. As you claim to be one of these fictions, you're done for. Now, you don't really like to hear what Noble Jwali is saying, because, you know, he wears a fez and all that stuff, so we can't go with him because, you know, I don't want to be Muslim. If I say that I'm a Moor, I'm going to have to be Muslim. We'll go to Marcus Garvey book. Garveyites out there, honor this man. And then keep in mind that he's the forerunner of the Moorish movement. Listen to where he goes. Even though language, right, meaning calling people Negro, Black, and whatever, listen to his reference points. His teachers, right, specifically Deuce Muhammad Ali, a master historian when it came to, right, he was master. Age 12. And searching for truth, get that which is particularly helpful to the Negro. Thought that strikes you in with the Negro that you can use. 'Cause then you have. 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 ' higher obsession, things point of view, remembering always that you are a Negro striving for Negro supremacy of life. Truth you see or any facts you gather to suit the Negro psychology of things. The system of today hides the truth as far as the Negro is concerned. You must certainly see really history, what you can pick out of the race, that the Egyptians were a great people, the Carthaginians, Libyans, etc. Not be told people or Negroes. You should go beyond that mere statement of these events to discover the truth to your race. In a case like that, you would ask, where did the Libyans, Carthaginians, or Egyptians get their civilization from? Following that kind of investigation, you will come upon the truth. All original Negro and subsequently became Negroid. Subsequent people with other people's blood who were nurtured by the Negro. As a fact, Egyptians, women, Carthaginians, and Libyans, but in the later centuries, they became mixed in blood. The blacks are being mixed in America and the West Indies by the infusion through domination of white man. To any statement in history made by any individual, great, that the Negro was nobody in history. Even if you cannot prove it, claim that the Negro was great. Thing you can get written by Negroes and their ancestry, 1,000 years. There are statements in the Bible, in the Old and New Testaments, to show that black was always an important color among the races of man. Had company with a black woman, he had his wife Sarah, by whom he had Ishmael. Original pharaohs were black, whose bones and body were dug up not very long ago at Luxor in Egypt, was a black pharaoh. Egypt, which has stood through the millenniums, has black features. That as art, it was portrayed to teach us of the greatness of men. When you are dealing with Jews, let them know you are slaves in Egypt, if you have to say so. Grounds for saying that civilization started in Africa and passed from and through northern Africa into southern Europe, and Romans and the people of Asia Minor, color of the Asiatics, color of the southern Europeans, that the cultured and civilized blacks of Africa mixed their blood with them. History and all literature and the Bible to support this argument and hold it up and hold to it with a grip that will never loosen. That may not be true, can be made so if you repeat them long and often enough. Therefore, always repeat statements that will give your race status and an advantage. The white man has built up his system of superiority. He is always telling you he is superior, history and literature to prove it. The same. Backgrounds for your argument, which cannot be disputed, is that you are older than any other man as a race because you are black. Is that in nature, by way of age, darkens. Darker than the rest of men, that you are older than the rest of men. of that is that even among white people, skin as they grow older, time. I mean, that the white man is white because most of the time, when the black man was great in Africa, in running him across the Mediterranean into southern Europe, he had to hide himself in caves, light and air. He was almost covered up for most of the time in darkness. The child in the womb of the mother is almost white. It is a black child. It is almost born white and doesn't change color until it comes in contact with light and air. All this talk about you're black, the womb of your mom, you're white. How come you're not black in the womb of your mom? So-called black people. Mom and your dad, who's Asiatics or whatever, then in the womb, same color as them. Whom you're pale. But you're not going to call yourself pale in the womb, call yourself black. Well, black means pale. So the game that's being played on you is that you can't be an adjective. It's create confusion. Gray areas. In the gray area, the or the civilly dead terms, the terms that tie you to no rights, as uncivilized. As uncivilized, then nothing applies to you because deals with humanity. And if you're not part of humanity because you want to call yourself an adjective, so be it. You'll fall under the jurisdiction of all the codes that were used to govern slaves. Think that Moors are talking some BS or whatever. You know people who, for no reason, and your defense has been, it's because they're black. Yeah, that's exactly why. That's exactly why. You're right. That's why stuff only happens to black people, because they're black. Right? Switch it. Your glasses are on backwards. Put your glasses on the other way so you can see what I'm saying. Classify yourself as something that you're not. Allows people who are inferior to you to become superior. In their mind, you're adopting an inferior position by not honoring your foremothers and forefathers who were superior beings. Going to visit the stuff that our ancestors built today still. So they know that we're superior beings, but they also know that we weren't black. Only we believe that fiction, that illusion. And again, talking about, well, we know black is not our identity. We mean that, we're connecting to our ancient foot. Stop the BS. If you say I'm black, you're saying black's identity. What do you mean? What are you? I'm black, but I don't mean black. I don't mean that it's identity. I don't mean that black's not a nationality. We know that black's not a nationality, but we're gonna say I'm black. Then why are you saying that you're black? It's coming from the so-called black scholars that they know that black can't identify themselves. So why they keep going around telling people fear of a black planet? Ain't nobody fear no black planet. Honors the public enemy and all that stuff, but ain't nobody fear no black planet. Fear a black planet. Darkness means ignorance. Fears ignorant people. Because you could just tell an ignorant person, hey, what's that? And they're going to look. They have no knowledge of themselves. I can't remember who the author was, but there's a quote that a race without the history of its roots is a country of madmen. Paraphrasing, something to that level. The country of madmen are the ones who don't know themselves. We're here as Moors. Our duty as Moors is to make ignorant people competent. With who are you? What's your name or whatever? Because the tone for what type of conversation we're going to have. And we know international people who love having conversations with Moors. Why? Because they know that Moors know themselves. And the international communities that are across the Atlantic to Morocco, they come here in hopes that they're going to meet their ancient foremothers and forefathers, the Moors, the ancient Egyptians, the Cushites, the Nubians, descendants of the Egyptian colonies of Atlantis, expecting when they come over here and all they see is niggers. And then once in a while, they'll see brother in a turban, brother in a fez or something like that, and these people pretty much lose their mind. That we know what's up. When they recognize that we know that this is Morocco across the Atlantic, not North Africa, Morocco. People from over there, there's Morocco, and they're open. They can't tell you, but we're telling you. Mustafa Hefni had white on his passport. He's mad. He wants to be black. Spilling the beans. It's being played over here with the black-white status, saying that it's incorrect over here. Because he's dark-skinned, he's an Egyptian, but he's classified as white. And Negroes are running with his idea that, no, he's not white, he's black. And whoever's were black, and these people were black, and those people were black. He's Egyptian. He ain't black. And why was he saying he's black? Why was he saying that out of his own mouth? In America, to be classified with his people. And he had hella hard time. He was battling these people to make himself black. Going to court, all types of crazy stuff. Because he wanted to be black. Gag order him because they don't want the secret out that dark-skinned people are actually the white people. Because they knew that from over here. By the Whiggamore Party. That's why the judge is wearing the wigs. He's wearing the long black stuff. because they were emulating people before them. They were pretending to be somebody that they're not. White, to have a superior position. Because they know that the Egyptians were white, the Moors are white, and all these other people who are classified as the founders of civilization, terms are classified as free white people. As far as history is concerned, and law, as black people historically. It's like Pimenta Bay. That books written in the UK about the Moors say blackamoors. Books written about the Moors say Negro, even though they're talking about Moors. You can get two identical books, one written in England, Europe, one written in United States. Same title, same author. Is not going to have mention of Moor. So European book has a picture, a blackamoor, a Moor holding a rose. Come over here, a Negro holding a rose. Same picture. And trading places continues still today. In position of they know who they are because, you know, Ashikis ask them, you know, their license name and their social media name don't match. Name and your social media name don't match. You really are. Anything, you would know that you're not the name on the license. And you would use your social media thing as your proclamation of who you are. Forget license. Facebook to say, we saw you, so we're going to arrest you because we saw you with guns on Facebook. And whatever my Facebook name is, that's who I am. Instead of using the license as your identification, because, you know, you already know that that's not you. That's a slave name on it. You know, slave master took your name, gave you their name. You still got that name? You don't think it's time to know that slave master put his name on you? But not because, you know, your black leaders aren't inspiring you, because they haven't changed their name in the records. About some African whatever, they teaching you about something. And again, you know, we only give honors, you know, as far as the scholarly class, you know, we only give honors to Dr. Ben because he had a doctorate in Moorish history. If you don't have that, then you're not even on the level to call yourself. Sorry, especially all the new age people coming out the woodworks. All of a sudden, everybody wants to tell somebody something about who they are, right? No different than, you know, Muslims didn't give a crap about Moors, fezzes or nothing like that. Now Moors are wearing fezzes and being themselves. Now Muslims want to talk about whose holy book is whatever, and we don't have the right stuff. You're not really the prophet. Who the hell are you? You guys haven't told us anything about prophet. Hundreds of years. You mean now you want to talk about holy books and whatever? But when we were Negro, black, colored, You were interested in anything. You just wanted us to convert to your BS religion so you can suck our energy running around some cube and kissing black stones and doing Hail Mary stuff 5 times a day, sucking us. But now we come into our birthrights. Oh, now we're, not doing Islam right. And we don't really have the teachings. But, for all the Moors who go through that with Muslims, when you have the sectarian Islamic whoever's trying to tell you some BS about, why you are in affairs and why is your book called Quran and all that, just tell them, oh, sorry, we're not sectarian like you, mere Muslim. Shut them up quick, fast. Immediately, they shut the hell up. Because that's the secret. That's the secret code. That's the secret code. Go, oh yeah, right here. That's the secret code. Because everybody in Islam knows that Muhammad is the first Sufi of it. Remember, Sufism was around before Prophet Muhammad. But when they say we're Islamic, they really should be practicing Sufism because Muhammad was the first Sufi. He wasn't some Sunni Shiite sect or whatever. He was a Sufi as well. He was a mystic, just like Yahshua was a mystic, just like Noble Drew Ali was a mystic. So don't let them take you out of your birthright. Don't make them try to convince you that this isn't your stuff, right? Just like we tell the so-called Hebrew Israelites, don't be debating Moors. Go help these people get Palestine back, since you're the real Israelites. Go fight the Anti-Defamation League, Southern Poverty Law Center. Go deal with them. Go debate them. Don't come at Moors, because you know that you came out of the Canaanites, and Moors say that we're Canaanites. So we're your big brothers. Hell out of here. You're coming around here, little brother, acting like you're somebody. You're wearing our hand-me-downs. Like, what are you talking about? Are you somebody? You're wearing my hand-me-downs. You wearing my hand-me-downs, little brother, Hebrew Israelites? We're Canaanites. We come before Israelites. Baal, worship him. Threw that away. You guys took our El, worship him. You guys took El Shaddai, worship him. Make up your own stuff. The bushes talking to you and all that stuff, telling you that what their new name is. God has a new name and all BS. Forget that BS. You're Canaanites. Don't try to run away from the bloodline because you heard some BS stories. Just like Garvey was saying, you have to research your history. It's incest and all that stuff. What are you talking about? Who told you that story? Bet you was a European. Oh, but that's the devil though. But you're going to listen to his story about the Canaanites. What we're saying. We get it. Trust that we get it. Right? That's why we talk to y'all people how we talk to y'all. Because it's clear that majority of so-called Negro black colored people, which includes the so-called conscious community and all that stuff, they really don't want to be free. They want to play this unity and call yourself. It doesn't work like that. Ask Asians. Just pick a nationality from Asia. Just pick one and do your research on how many different types of them there are. Like, when you put up black people, right? You're going to get West Indians. You're going to get South Americans. You're going to get, people in Kansas, Oregon, wherever. You're going to get people. Regardless, right? You're going to get people all over the place. Look up Turks, one distinct people. It's not all these different bunch of people. Ghanaians, one group of people. Somalians, one group of people. Black, all these scattered, whatever. And then trying to scatter, you know, trying to make a shattered mirror not shattered. The mirror shattered. What do you mean? Just look through that crack side right there. What do you mean? Yeah, the mirror is like this. The crack right here. You want me to just beat on? Why don't you just get a new mirror? And it's a game that we've been playing. That's why Jeru told you you're playing yourself. And then he's an Asiatic doing the martial arts stuff with a bunch of. You know, trying to tell you something. Everybody's told us. Everybody's told us, but we don't want to hear. Right? We want to follow the leader, like this some Calypso song. Or you're going to be food. They don't care about what happens to you. They only care about getting their little popularity. Trust me. They only care about their name, fame. That's all they care about. They don't care about you being free. You better free yourself and stop playing around that these people are in your best interest. They're not in your best interest. They're looking out for their self. So you're chasing them if they're looking out for their self. Not telling you about your nationality and birthrights. Telling you about everything else. Not telling you that you're Moors. Calling you everything else, not calling you Moors. And if they do call you Moors, they're calling you Moors some third-party perspective, like Moors were 100 to 1492, and that's it. After that, there was no Moors on the planet because, you know, those were the Moors. They got kicked out of Spain. They just thin air, no Moors in existence. That's stupidity. Only stupid people talk like that. Somebody brought somebody on a slave ship from Africa to America. Stupid people talk like that. Only incompetent, stupid people talk in that fashion. We're making it clear that there's no such thing as Negro, black, colored people. Does not exist. If you're dark skinned, you're a Moor. If you claim that you're African, African is synonymous with Moorish. Go look it up. So anytime you hear African, know that they mean Moorish. They don't mean African. Because you're not family to Scipio, so you're not African. Which is why it means Moorish. Because Scipio conquered North Africa, which is why it was such an honor for them to conquer North Africa. Remember, North Africa is the gateway to Africa from Europe. They're not going from the other side. They're not going from the east when they invaded Africa. They had to front line defending Africa. North Africa was the front line. That's the first people they got to deal with. You see how much problems they had? Backing the Moors down. Think about that. Think about everybody that this European went up against. And think about who stood strongest. Who stood the strongest? Who really defended this birthright matter, this encroachment by foreigners in our land? Who defended it? Moors were on the front line. Go to Haiti, Toussaint Louverture, dressed like the admiral, Moor on the front line. All these so-called slaves trying to get out of slavery, that's Moors. Trying to get off the plantation. Wanting to be free men. Don't want to be slave status. Want to be free men. Want to be off the plantation. That's a Moorish mindset. and said Negroes don't want to be free. They're content being on the plantation and marching and picketing, and maybe this European is going to give them some rights because they suffered for 400 years, and they're going to go on TV and push this, they're black, and people owe them something. The world that's watching knows that they're Moors, and they're scratching their head like, what does that mean, black? What is this black thing? What do they mean by that? As Moors, like, people, whether they're European or whatever, right? They do not engage so-called Negro, black, African, whatever people from this side of the hemisphere. Like, they don't engage them, right? We know people personally that we've had conversations with that they've made the point that because you know who you are is why we can talk right now. Because part of the citizenship manual when people come here from other countries is that they do not engage with the so-called black community. It's out their mouth when they come here. Like, they're told, they get a list of areas where they tell them don't go to these areas. This is mouth to ear. We're telling you that this is how it is. This is not something from some book or whatever. You're going to go research. This is things that people let the cat out the bag talking to Moors, building with Moors. There's things that Europeans tell Moors that lets Moors know that, you know what, we need to get our people on this info because these people in the world are begging. These people in the world are begging for us to stand up. But again, you know, they're only begging to Moors. Now, and then we come out and we tell you, yo, you're not black. You need to, you know, proclaim your nationality. Y'all looking at us like we're crazy when we're giving you the message that the international community is trying to relate to you through us, because they don't talk to Negro, black, colored people. And Moors that are sincere and active want everybody to have this. We can't just be Moors with this, right? In the corner of when we're Moors, we're getting everything that we want. Everything's going how it's supposed to go for us, but our people are here suffering. We know that that's clip sovereignty. If the whole nation's not benefiting from the freedom of the sovereignty of the nation, then there's no need for even certain stuff. But, you know, be it, you know, the climate is, we're going to exercise some stuff. Forget who doesn't want their birthright. You're going to suffer on your own. Lose. That's your car that they're coming and taking. Right? That's your account that they're going in and they're raping. Just because. The people think that, you know, we're not Moors. We're everything else. We're everything else under the sun. As soon as we start saying Moors, how come our people don't want to be that? We can tell them anything else and they'll at least consider it for a little bit. As soon as we start talking about Moors, a self-initiated block to defend the Negro psyche from being attacked by the Moors. And we know, you know, there's only going to be a handful saved with fingers left over. Majority of you people ain't making it. The intellectual fortitude. Consider that you're not black. Imagine that. You're fighting that's trying to convince you, get off your knees so people don't sit on your back. Nah, why should I get up? This is my land. I came here. I'm the founder of this. Just keep sitting on your back. You don't see a problem with that? Because, you know, our ancient scholar guys, you know, they went to Kemet and all that stuff, and they said on the walls of Kemet, these with people sitting on their back. So that's what we're gonna do. All right. You know that you can't say it's racism because you're letting them sit on your back, right? Because, you know, they're supposed to be sitting on the shoulder part where the arms, so, you know, my back's not bending like this when they sit. Well, how about get off your goddamn knees and be a man instead of being their couch, instead of being their property. Once, just try it for yourself. Try it for yourself. Go to somebody who doesn't look like you and ask them if they know anything about the Moors. You know anything about black people being Moors? And then depending on how that goes, then ask somebody else, see what they say. You know, you know what I mean? Come back with a ratio of how many people said they know, opposed to how many people said that they didn't know. Right? Now do that as a black guy. Go ask people. Get a t-shirt or whatever, tie it on your head like a turban. People that same question. See how they deal with you. Out of memory on your phone, recording them telling you about the Moors. But again, you know, our people have to be open to attempt such things. People are the biggest cowards on the planet because, you know, they're the strongest supporters. They're the strongest supporters of ignorance. They're the strongest supporters to not know certain everybody else knows. Right? An article by Dana Reynolds talking about the fear of blackness. So we just wanted to excerpts of that because Dana, whoever Dana is, she was telling, or he was telling, we do suggest that you take notes, any names or whatever like that you never heard before, make sure you check it out. We're talking about our people and their history move from black it is. That it's extremely removed, right? Before the Islamic slave trade, Africa in its entirety was occupied by people who are now located mainly in the Sahel, northern Sudan, and Saharan areas. Right? Keep in mind what we were saying, that North Africa was the gateway to Africa. North Africa was the gateway to Africa. You would go through North Africa if you're coming from the north, right? Especially where the Moors were running the trade routes in the Mediterranean. You had to engage the Moors. You weren't good. It wasn't going to be, you know, no interaction with the Moors. You're going to bump into the North Africans before anybody, right? The nomadic warriors and agriculturalists in the region were called Mauri, M-A-U-R-I. They once stretched along the coastal regions of North Africa between Libya and Morocco. Today, the terms Berber and Moor mean different things to different people, including academics. In ancient times, and through most of the medieval period in Europe, the people designated as Moors in Europe were not always related by either blood, culture, religion, or dialect. All populations referred to as Mauri, Moro, or Moor in Europe until the 15th century did share one thing in common: a near black to extremely black complexion. So the people had a complexion that was black or near black, but that's not who they were. That was just their complexion, right? See how we've been played out of our birthright? Assumed black complexion was our identity. When black complexion is not an identity, we're Maori. We're Moors. The Moor's complexion was black. Well, Moor doesn't mean black. Moor means Mauritanian. Moor means Moroccan. Moor means dock of boat. Moor doesn't mean black. The complexion of Moors might have been black, you know, like they said, which you know, again, when we talk about this connotative language, right? Near black to extremely black. Now, what's to black than black? Like, what's near black? And what's extremely black? Black is already extreme. So what is extremely black? If black is already the extreme, white is that extreme, black is that extreme. So if you're already extreme, how much more black could these individuals be if they're black? And then we get into our mind about how they look and how dark could they be, and oh yeah, they're so dark that you couldn't see them in the night unless they did it like this. True, but that doesn't mean that they're black. That doesn't mean that they're black people. Midnight. Doesn't mean that they're midnight. Midnight is something having nothing to do with people. Right? The name Berber, or Beri-Beri, B-E-R-I, is in fact an African word used originally for and by the inhabitants of the region of Somalia who extended into the Sahara from a very early time period, and is still the indigenous name used by various peoples of Chad, Sudan for themselves, right? Like Dr. Berber himself. We were calling ourselves Moors. We of Somalia were calling ourselves Berbers. Not some stuff somebody else came and put on us. We were calling ourselves that. Indigenous name still used by various peoples of Chad and Sudan. 1st century, the Greek historian Diodorus speaks in reference to the expedition of Agathocles, a Sardinian general of 3 Libyan tribes on the coast of Tunisia, the Mikatani, A-T-A-N-I, M-I-C-A-T-A-N-I, and Zufoni, Z-U-F-O-N-I, Z-U-F-O-N-I, and the Asphodelodi, Asphodelodi, A-S-F-O-D-E-L-O-D-I, who by the color of their skin resembled the Ethiopians. Mediterranean race by Giuseppe Sergi, S-E-R-G-I. The Mikatani, M-I-C-A-T-A-N-I, are known later as the Kitama Berbers, K-I-T-A-M-A. What they would be called today is Tuareg. The early Moors were described as having woolly or crispy hair, which they often curled with hot irons or wore in braided plaits. Maori also wore bands around their heads and rings through their ears. By the 1st century, Silius Italicus, nigra for black with reference to the Moors. So 1st century, they used the term nigra, which is a Latin word for black, but they use that to reference the Moors. What are they referencing when they say nigra? They're referencing the complexion. Think about that not being your identity. It's not your identity. It's only complexion. It's description of who we are as a people. It's not who we are. It's the description of us. But it's not our identification. 1st century, Marcus Valerian was one of the earliest Europeans to use the phrase woolly hair like a Moor, also translated a Moor with his crisp hair, in book 6 of the Epigrams. And the phrase was used up until the Middle Ages. And the phrase was used up until the Middle Ages because in Europe, left Europe after the Moors were vanquished from Europe, after the Moors were kicked out of Europe. There was a campaign that you're not going to call these people Moors anymore. Call them something else. Right? Book 6 of the Epigrams, E-P-I-G-R-A-M-S. Marcus Valerian Marshall. Marcus Valerian, like the movie just came out, Marshall. Moorish cavalry of the Roman army under the Emperor Trajan in a fight against the Dacians, Moors or Mori were said to have followed horse breeding with exceptional interest and to have curled their hair with hot irons like the people of Nubia. When they make these relations, the Moors, whatever, like the people of somewhere else. How the culture came through, who the culture came through. Because it's a documented fact in world history that the Moors are the custodians of ancient African culture. This is documented throughout history. Anybody that has dark skin that was a storehouse of ancient knowledge in modern times are Moors. Because that's just what they did. That's just what our ancient foremothers and forefathers did. Second century. The Historia Augusta the Historia Augusta, the life of Marcus Aurelius, part 2, mentions the attacks by the Mori who had engaged the Romans in a battle in the Iberian Peninsula and who had wasted almost the whole of Spain. The peoples of early Iberia, of Seville, familiar with what Mori looked like. 3rd century. By this period, derivatives of the word Mori, M-O-R-I, or Mauri, M-A-U-R-I, signify black things. Morum, M-O-R-U-M, had become to mean blackberry or mulberry tree. Roman dramatis, platus, or platus, P-L-A-U-T-U-S, morulus, M-O-R-U-L-U-S, for a black man or a nigri, N-I-G-R-I. M-O-R-U-L-U-S was used for a black man. So when they saw somebody with a quote unquote black complexion, they said, morulus. They say black whatever. They said morulus. But our people aren't Moors. But in the 3rd century, they were calling you morulus, which is a derivative of more because M-O-R is in it. And as soon as you see M-O-R on something, automatically it should go in your mind that that has something to do with us. That has something to do with dark-skinned people. That's where your mind's supposed to go. When you see more in anything, M-O-R, M-O-R-E, M-O-O-R, M-A-U-R, as long as that sound is there, more, regardless of how it's spelt, consider it relative to Moors and at least do some research on it, just to see. Just to see, right? Fifth century. The Moors have bodies black as night, while the skin of the Gauls is white. Written by Isidore of Seville in the Etymologies of Isidore of Seville. The Etymologies of Isidore, I-S-I-D-O-R-E, of Seville. Saint Isidore also underlines the fact that Moors are so named because they are black. This comes from the heat of the sun. 6th century, Corippus, C-O-R-I-P-P-U-S, a Byzantine, in book 1245 of Joannidus, Johannidus, Annidus, speaking of the Moors in the area of North Africa, who he felt had faces of a horrible black color. Videbater faces, M-A-U-R-A, V-I-D-E-B-A-T-U-R, F-A-C-I-E-S. He also refers to some Moorish captives as black as crows. 6th century, Procopius, Byzantine, in his History of the Wars book, History of the Wars, contrasting a white people who had settled in North Africa, claimed they were not black-skinned like the Mori. The Maori he knew lived in the area stretching from Leptis Magna to the Kabyle Mountains, Kabylie Mountains. Moors wearing traditional headbands of the Maori, noted by the Romans, fend off enemies from medieval castles. Arrows shoot out of windows. Increasingly, the men of the Maori, since ancient times, are mentioned as wearing headbands and rings in their ears. Later, medieval Moors in heraldry and elsewhere are frequently depicted as black men wearing bands around their heads. Coat of arms of Sardinia, as with the heraldry of families named with variants of Mori or Moor, several countries in Europe have flags and coat of arms with the heads of Moors on them. Not the heads of blacks on them, Negroes on them, the heads of Moors on them. Why the heads of Moors on them? Because they know that our people are really Moors. They know this. They know that we're not black. They know that only is a description. But hey, if you want to believe that you're a description, if you want to be an adjective, not a proper noun, hey, go right ahead. They have jurisdiction in all your affairs now because you're being what they say you are. And under assumed jurisdiction, and then because, we want to be stateless, because we want to not be who we are, we can't make a claim. And when we make a claim and it gets shot down, we're saying that people are racist and people are discriminating against us because of our color. No, they're discriminating against us because of our status of being an adjective when we're not that. So the whole blackness game is an illusion. It's not a reality. It is a fiction. The idea of our people being black, it is not a reality. It will never be a reality. There's no way that it can be made a reality. We're not telling anybody to throw away anything they already had. We're telling you, tag your nationality to it. It's like, yo, you have a bag, so you don't lose your bag, you put the tag on it with your name and all the stuff on it. Okay, your nationality is a bag tag, so you get your bags back if they happen to get lost. If something happens to, get you in a scatterbrain and you don't know what's going on, at least because you have knowledge of that you're a Moor, the ancestors look at you in your time of need. They will. But if you're not tied to them, then what assistance are they going to give you if you're not tied to them? I think that being a Moor is some religious stuff that they can't do because of whatever reason. So there's more in that article, and that can be found at Metaphysics.blogspot.ca, appearance of the Moors and Berbers. Appearance of the Moors and Berbers. Afroasiatics.blogspot.ca. Questions right now. All is mind, knowing that all is mind, all is well. Mercury went retrograde on the 13th, and the day before was a black box day for the Leos. And since Ophiuchus starseeds encompass all signs, we should have fallen back and taken heed. Today, my OG, not to set any disappointments, and not to go out of the day. Well, she forgot the appointment the week before, and they told her the only next available day they had was that peculiar Saturn day. The incorrect energies carried over onto that Sunday, and the food apparently had bad bacteria and struck the spleen lymphatic system. Today, the endocrine system fluently Moors. Also, be mindful of the watermelons. They're being injected with chemicals that they can grow faster, and is causing them to have pale seeds. Do not eat the pale seeds. It is said, however, that the carbon seed are infused with copper, and if cooked correctly can make the skin complexion darker and alter the molecular structure in our bodies. Be mindful on 21st, which was yesterday, another black box day, or sun gaze. Keep the thoughts clean the day before today. Do not lament, do not hate, do not talk BS or manifest some really funky stuff the next few months. Mercury goes direct after the 5th. Source Wikipedia. The August 2017 eclipse will be the first with a path of totality crossing the Pacific and Atlantic coast of the US since 1918. Date. Also, this path of totality makes landfall exclusively within the United States, making it the first such eclipse since the country's independence in 1776. The path of totality of the eclipse of June 13th, 1257 was the last to make landfall exclusively on lands currently United States. Go figure. Mend your hearts, Moors. All the best with the new endeavors, Divine Moorish Credit Union, etc. In retrospect, I recant, except course. We are good, and this locomotive cannot be stopped. Amori lose. So Islam to all the Moors, that's, frequencies, and was able to get something, the eclipse yesterday. Again, had a lot of metaphysical, we had a lot of metaphysical jokes yesterday with regard to the conscious mindset, Moors included, of something external doing something for you. Like the eclipse is external. That's something outside of yourself. Now the lessons teach that all is mental. The lessons teach, be in, not of. So to see so many people following the Pied Piper with their little glasses or whatever to go look at some eclipse was very revealing. Remember, the eclipse was about revealing, because apparently, this was to magnify things for those who, specifically are hard of seeing stuff. So things should be very extremely clear to you now. If it hasn't blown up in your face yet, it will, right? Because things are going to be revealed. Are you going to be open enough to receive what's being revealed? That's on the individual who's receiving, right? But it was amazing to see how many people still have an exoteric mindset when they should have an esoteric mindset. By now, 2017, you know, going out there chasing some eclipse ain't no different than the dude has hands coming out the clouds giving you some salvation. If you're not internalizing yet, as far as when we look at, you know, the celestial bodies at work, the only earth things that they should affect are inanimate objects. Anything that's animated, anything that's connected to the 4 elements, 5 elements, anything that's connected to the 5 elements should be internalizing anything going on celestially at this point. It should not be go look, see. Right? It should not be go and solely, right? Solely go look at some stuff going on in the sky. That's no different than the guy saying, yo, the angels had chariots, and then people are looking to see the angels coming out with the chariots. We've got mad work to do. You think people are awake? They might have the little, you know what I mean, blinky thing going on that they're waking up, but they're not awake. These people still sleep, especially if they don't have nationality. Especially if they classify themselves as Negro, black, colored. Let them fool you about Eclipse did something to them. Eclipse do nothing to them. Do what? Same goddamn situation was going on that's been going on before the eclipse, that the eclipse was supposed to stop certain stuff from going on. How come stuff's still going on? Remember, 1918, that was, you know, the time of Noble Drew Ali and Marcus Garvey. Was the last time. And then, you know, now this time, you know, it's the time of, you know, Marcus Garvey, Noble Drew Ali, and everybody else who's an imposter. Fooling the people into thinking that, you know, what they got is for their salvation. When people aren't saved. Dude just got shot yesterday or whatever, this morning. You know, stuff's still going on right now. And our people always left in the dark because our perspective doesn't want to change. We don't want to correct self. Right? We don't want to correct. We want to keep dealing with the fiction. For example, go to TUOA. Just get this thing to read. Let me just read this thing first. So that okay. So Noble Drew Ali, the Moorish Science Temple of America. It is most earnestly hoped that the Moorish Science Temple of America will not in any way be confused with any Back to Africa movement. Such is not important insofar as American citizens of our group colonizing Africa are concerned. It is most earnestly hoped that the Moorish Science Temple of America will not in any way be confused with any Back to Africa movement. Sent me a message with really and a question mark. So you're going to go to TUOA.firstblackamerica.com. TUOA.firstblackamerica.com. And again, remember Brother Chico's message was really with a question mark. Go on that. Sister Sakira L. Greetings of peace and more love. Islam Grand Street Kudrado L. Statues being taken down. I saw this question on Facebook. Is Rome attempting to conceal its sins and crimes against man, Moorish American national, by removing its engraved images, statues before judgment time? It is not all, is it not already judgment time? Revealed. Been judgment time. Anybody playing this game about they're taking down the statues because they're trying to hide something or they're trying to whatever, you're talking BS, right? That's those people's statues. They can do what the hell they want with those. What you got to do with Confederate statues or whatever? Asiatic black man. What, I thought that's enemy or whatever. What do you care what they do with them? Like, why is it news? Statues. That's what's making news. People throwing down statues. That's what's making the news. Now, keep in mind, you know, it's not only the quote unquote corporation moving statues. Like, people are literally toppling over statues. Now, if that's a so-called, you know, national monument, whatever, how come ain't nobody getting arrested for kicking statues in the head and stuff like that? How come when that sister climbed that flagpole to take down Confederate flag, they arrested her, but Europeans, their statue, you know, because remember, you know, it's Europeans, it's not no Asiatics kicking down statues. Maybe after the statue's on the ground, you Asiatics gonna come kick it, you know, black guys, coward guys, you know, but it's Europeans getting their truck or whatever like that, their F-150 whatever, and hooking up to a statue and pulling it off its pedestal, right? So it's really letting the people know that even Europeans are fed up with the race BS, because it's affecting them too. That's why statues are coming down, if there's a reason. If there's a reason that we're going to say that the statues are coming down, right? Because that's European jurisdiction. They can take down those statues if they want to. And it's not anybody's business why they're taking them down or what they're doing with them. But keep in mind that Noble Drew Ali did tell the Moors that they're going to take church bells and melt them down and make bullets to kill your dumb ass. So when you see them taking down these statues down, just remember your Noble Drew Ali, prophesied that the stuff's going to be melted down. But not because they're trying to hide something or whatever like that, because they're going to make bullets to kill your ass. Take it how you want. You know what I mean? It's not like they're lying because they've been doing it. Got shot up. That you should probably, you know, consider frequency. And the only way the frequency is going to change is if the mindset changes. Warped, because their mindset is coming from what they see on TV, here on the radio or whatever, or satellite TV or whatever, right? BS, Molly Percocet, right? Have their minds warped, so the conditions are warped. You say whatever, but you know what I mean? Like, if you really don't think it's the music making these youths go crazy, then scientists, for real. You just claim you're conscious. You're not really conscious. Why do you think they stopped the hip-hop program? When we say hip-hop decoded, and then the flyer is a brother in a cave meditating, you think they don't know what we're trying to do with the frequencies? Of course they know what we're trying to do with the frequencies. The time is now where if you don't own your mind, trust me, somebody is downloading to you BS for you to go out there and do BS, get caught up in some BS. Ask the Moors who got caught up in some BS. How? How do you get caught up in that? You're a Moor. Yeah. The Negro mindset or whatever, something went down where they avoided dealing with the lessons, because once you cross the line, you can't go back. Once you say, I'm going to surround myself with truth, you can't be a liar because you destroy yourself. And the truth of the matter, facts, is that, our sinning is not honoring our ancient foremothers and forefathers. Sinning is not getting knowledge, thinking that it's not cool to know something. It's not cool to study. It's cool to study about your nationality and birthrights that you never found out about, that nobody ever told you. Smart's the new gangster. That's the new stuff. That's what it's about. And having knowledge of self, right? It's about anybody from any race, nationality coming up to you, and you can have an intellectual conversation with them about something other than sports and entertainment and stupid stuff. Have a real conversation with somebody about history, culture. A conversation about astrology with somebody who knows about astrology. Have them, hey, what's your sign? What's your rising? And have them tell you stuff about yourself you don't even know about yourself. Right? People you don't even know. So it's that time right now. Either you're going to save yourself or you're going to be property when this ship goes down. And keep in mind, property does not get life jackets and lifeboats when the boat's sinking. Property goes down with the ship. Nobody's grabbing chairs and stuff like that, throwing them off the boat to save the chairs. Save the tables. The boat's sinking. Save the cutlery. They don't care. That's going down with the ship. Negro, black, colored are property of the U.S. Canada corporations. They are property. They are wards of the crown. Word on the street is that Europeans have been renouncing their U.S. citizenship for the past 15, 20 years. That trailer park trash guy that you see, no, they're not. They're still here in their trailer park. Not them ones, dummy. The ones who are liquidating their assets and getting the hell out of here. But they don't want to be in Trump president, impeach him and stuff like that. That's corporation. Well, impeach what? Impeach what president? They don't impeach a president of a corporation. Talking about. Don't be property minded. Get your mind out of property status and get your mind into absolute status. And just look, oh, you know what? We'll just do that for you. Let's just look up quickly. Let's just look up absolute. Let's just look up absolute in the law dictionary. Right? So, absolute mindset, not property mindset. Right? Complete, perfect, final, without any condition or encumbrance. As an absolute bond is distinction from a conditional bond. Unconditional, complete and perfect in itself, without relation or to dependence on other things or persons. Instruction as to an absolute gift within or construct restriction. An absolute estate is one that is free from all manner of condition or encumbrance. An estate in fee simple. A ruling is said to be absolute when on the hearing it is confirmed and made final. A conveyance is said to be absolute as distinguished from a mortgage or other conditional conveyance. Absolute property is where a man has solely and exclusively the right and also the occupation of movable chattels, distinguished from a qualified property as that of a bailee. An absolute owner is one in whom elements of titles of possession, right of possession, and right of property are combined. Absolute ownership exists when interest is so completely vested in insured that he cannot be deprived of it without his own consent. So only you could consent to be a dumb Negro and not know who you are. Somebody can't make you that. You have to consent. That you have to be deprived of your mindset, of your ancient foremothers and forefathers. To be deprived of that is on the individual with the deprived mind. Because in this day and time, nobody can say that they don't know. It's impossible for you to say that you don't know who you are. Nobody fears a black planet. They do not fear a black planet, a black or more Messiah. But trust me, these people don't fear a black planet because they already know that that's a fiction. That's an illusion. That's a non-entity. Nothing personal. That's just what it is. Don't take it personal. Don't take it as an attack. Don't take it as the Moors whatever or the white man whatever. Go fact check. Saying, especially the ones who are out here putting this information out, especially the ones who are putting their neck on the line to let you know that these people are corporations and they're not government and all that. That these people aren't government, people find that out and really go check. What do you mean they're not government? And then you go check. You got Securities and Exchange Commission letting you know that they're a corporation. You got Dun and Bradstreet letting you know that they're a corporation. Like, these are reputable companies that have to do with identifying, recognizing corporations. And they're very specific as to what information they house. They don't house government information, they house corporate information. Why are governments on there? Why are governments on there? And since when are governments corporations? That's news that people need to know so they can start realizing that they're being taxed without representation. They're being given licenses without representation. People are going into their account, taking finance out without representation. People are claiming that, you know, they can get in contact with God and save people and stuff like that. Come confess in my booth without representation. And if somebody's doing something to you without representation, probably they're a fraud. Because if they're doing things on that level, somebody should be sanctioning them. They can't just be doing that stuff, just tax you just because they feel like it. Somebody should be, you know, over them. Somebody should be over the pastor so that he doesn't run off with people's finance that they're putting in the envelope every week. Like, somebody has to be responsible. You can't just be freelance. Anybody do what they want. Right? All it comes down to is stop listening to some and go study for yourself. Just check for yourself. Just check for yourself. Right? Islam to all the Moors around the globe. My question is, how important is it to understand what this is? Well, again, you know what I mean? Like, you know, want to understand what a solar eclipse is from the esoteric perspective or from the exoteric perspective. I suggest, Active More suggests, you look at it from an esoteric perspective, because the place is when here, right? It's now going on. That you have to have an esoteric mindset. You cannot have an exoteric mindset anymore. Everything has to be looked at metaphysically. Be looked at not metaphysical. If you're looking at things from that mundane perspective, you are going to get lost. So yes, it's important to understand what a solar eclipse is, what a lunar eclipse is, what a full moon is, what a waxing moon, what a waning moon is. It's important to know, but know that all is mental. And you should be looking at those things from the most esoteric possible. The most esoteric perspective possible. You should be looking at everything around you. Because we have to be metaphysicians now. The eclipse is over. Like, the party's done. You should be fully charged and ready to go to work right now. People who missed the boat, the people who weren't listening to the higher self, some of those people got caught up outside in it and got drained from some exoteric perspective. Mad people today. They're tired, feeling tired. I don't know what's going on. And majority of those people, guaranteed they were outside enjoying the eclipse or whatever. Missed the point of go meditate. Go in silence. Go within. Listen to your heartbeat and get lost in the beat of your heart. Right? You have to be in tune with yourself to be able to meditate on your heartbeat, because you have to be able to hear it or at least feel it to be on that frequency, to bring that tone down. It is understandable that, you know, these galactic events are happening that are, you know, inspiring people. You know what I mean? Not taking none of that away. That's for the layman. The metaphysician, the master, the occultist would have had some candles going yesterday, would have had mad water around them. They would have probably fasted yesterday. You're probably not going to eat anything, because even food gets messed up after an eclipse. You don't even want cooked food around you after eclipse. And if you are eating something, you want it to be as raw as possible, because everything is influenced. Inanimate things and animate things are influenced during an eclipse. Everybody's atoms are running different, vibrating funny, right? You know, you'd had mad incense lit. Um, meditation, crystals. You know what I mean? You would have had your bowl out, lined all your stuff out to get charged up. Just because, and you know, lined all the stuff out. Remember, because you're dealing with the energies, you're not dealing with the stuff out there. So the lining up of all your stuff might not have been outside on a blanket underneath the stuff. It might have been on your floor, on your bed, on a chair. Lay something down on the ground, lay out all your stuff. Because Bobby Hemmett said this years ago, that you have to be the ones to initiate your rituals. The ritual can't be something somebody put on you to do or whatever. Your ritual, you're the one. You activate it. Then somebody, you got the solar eclipse books, and then you're going through the solar eclipse book about the rituals to do on a solar eclipse. That's dead rituals. Stuff, shake it around or whatever like that, like some dice, throw it down, see what you get, and then, yeah, okay, now that's the ritual. Not taking their stuff, and then that's the ritual. Defeats the purpose of even doing the ritual, right? So take some time, consider, you know what I mean, the celestial world, the celestial arena. Consider that as our people who get further and further away from their foremothers and forefathers, it's going to get harder and harder to reach them, right? You used to be able to, you know what I mean, put your hand and grab dude out the grave, right? But that's sunk in place now, you know, like you're sending something down to them. Don't get pulled into their hole on some, you know, well, they didn't know and all that stuff. I'm trying to help them to know. Ignorance of the law is no excuse, especially universal law. Don't be ignoring the universal law. You think ignorance of the man-made law is no excuse? You ignore some universal law, see what happens to you. So if anybody out there, you know, if you got questions and stuff like that, you can email Canaanland at, this is the email address, canaanlandguide@gmail.com. Canaanland, GUIDE @gmail.com. Send an email. If you got any questions from today, stuff you're hearing out there or whatever like that, send a question. We answer them in class. Islam to the Moors that sent your questions, that was in attendance. Peace and love to the Muftis, chat, and to the Moors worldwide that are studying and in studying, you know what I mean? Honors to you, program of knowing thyself. If we don't know ourselves, we can't help ourselves. If we can't help ourselves, we can't help others. So it's imperative that you know yourself so that other people can benefit from the wisdom. Don't forget, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, blogtalkradio.com, MHHS Eyes Wide Open, 9:30 p.m. Oh yeah, happy 11 day to all the 11 more since it's the 22nd today. Join us today, 9:30, 425-569-5201. 425-569-5201, 347-945 5899. 347-945-5899. Islam, peace, and love to all the Moors. We'll just do our closeout. And don't forget, no class on Sunday. This Sunday is on the Canaanland Moors 3rd annual cookout / barbecue / picnic. You know, you put some people on the tree and stuff like that, party. So if you want to get down with some vegan, vegetarian, you know what I mean, get fat. You know, this is for the Moors, all the Moors in Canaanland. This is, you know what I mean, we're trying to take care of y'all. So come out to your barbecue. You know what I mean? Come build with the Moors, exchange some numbers and all that stuff, meet some new people, and, you know, continue to study. Islam to all the Moors out there that's been supporting Canaanland Moors. We appreciate y'all, especially, you know what I mean? Because the word's getting out and people are starting to come to their senses out here as well. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Islam. And for the Moors also, let me know how the stream was. Then, you know, we might swing here for the next couple of sessions. The closeout song, willofalah.com, willofalah.com. Go pick it up. Triple disc compilation album from Canaanland Moors, featuring everybody and anybody you heard on anything Iron Sheik and some new people. But compilation is killer. willofalah.com. Mission never impossible. Stay peaceful, Moors.
So I want to get you rid. What? I'm rocking. Who says we ain't in the building? Who says we ain't into building? We the Moorish master masons, architects for your children, rapping Friday 30s like Jason without the killing. But we promote light, oh, it's all about the feeling. And we invoke light, yo, we them light beings. Though you might see him on the block getting his portion, might be talking to cops, giving them caution. Occasionally wearing his fez when he's walking, see the turning heads, whispering, gawking. But he's locked in and he's zoned out while we boxed in our own house.
Study the mystics, the adepts, the magi, wisdom of the ancients can all calcify as possible mission. Free mental numbness, extract the substance, rid minds of dumbness. Use the source, don't care what some purport, as we know by being told man knows not. Many before the floor, souls got bought, placed in the devil's hands, ruled in the 7 lands. To dogma rituals, negro spirituals, brainwash subliminal, keeps thinking to a minimal. They're still criminal, in a world digital so pitiful. Mental survival so critical, it's visible. Can you see past like this blocks? Hashtag zombies with waves of cyber thoughts. No need for cell phones, they speak through soft palms. It's nothing for alarm, chips and forearms.
Wind, brass, and bass, such a beautiful serenade. Women feeding me grapes, I'm feeding the in me serenades. Whether the sky is clear or gray, rain when you hear a fake, giving life to seed. Speaking through who not here today. Show you the future in a glimpse. And always look to these holes like hallucinatory pimps. Sun walked the desert, been more of a since I found God. Look back, used to see his prince. Forget being a prince, I'm a G. OD grown man, no Jody, deny it, you don't know me. You don't owe me, that's like a couple hundred years. Walk around town with a couple hundred peers and release the peace of fears. The sun gon' shine, so what tears? This young brother here just trying to get his third eye clear.
This deep, Moors don't sleep. Invest in your mind, body, and unleash. Real life rap, spitting over tracks. Conscious thinking and living and then attack. This deep, Moors don't sleep. Invest in your mind, body, and unleash. Real life rap, spitting over tracks. Conscious thinking and living and then attack.
So as the moon sets, the sun takes its place. It spoons on blocks, inspired spots, filled spaces. Peel back, rats, who got cases. Fire stained the corridors of flemo faces. Game changers, rule benders, and no pretenders. Style benders, channel my vibe through the vibrant optic lenses. Send a message to our veterans, soldiers up and get it in. We on a verge words we emerge, subliminal beings, third eye seeing, still a participant unwilling.
They wanna break me, shake, bake, grade me, rolling with my main G, double OMG, SON is crazy. For a minute that you think you could take me for a fool like a native to his land, being schooled by a foreign dude. You mistaken me, spiders on the roof, in the dark rooms, I be saying you mistaken me. You better move or I mark it, power pin is my tongue, your existence to target, revealing all lies and deceit on the market. Genocide, carry round in pockets, I knock it down, bulldozer. David to Goliath, it's an exposure. Some big cats ruling and it's getting closer to your downfall. Round up all your soldiers.
I was seeking a fortune, tired of misfortune. I just wanted a portion. Everything that I never had, though I needed my portion. Blowing like porcelain, haters battling porcelain. Getting broke, tired of being broke. How we acquire hope is the DJ killing some dope. Just to keep us afloat. Mind as deep as the boat. Brain is a lethal weapon, we want it to a low. When I speak, I provoke. Walk in the room with my aura feeling like heavy smoke. Feel like when the levy broke under my Louis Vuitton, the semi-coat. Cause then we capture, kill the boy, yeah, the joke. The cost of living, how you profit. These little girls that suck their body just to pay tuition. These little niggas sucking niggas just to build condition. It's like the snake we never ended with the intermission. I wanna free the world, but I'm one man. A couple ones like me, let me one plan. I wanna free the world, but I'm one man.